Hi guys, it's Brianna and welcome back to my channel. So this video has been requested. It's also something that I kind of promised after purchasing my new car. So I posted a little video on my Instagram talking about how I finally made this big purchasing decision with God. I've made big purchasing decisions in the past, but they have not been with God. So after posting that video did pretty well, and a lot of people were asking to hear the testimony on it. So I'm here today to talk about that whole process, buying a car with God, and kind of the feelings and emotions that I went through during that whole process. When I tell you I have never experienced a purchasing decision as impactful as this, like, this wasn't even about the car. This was not about the car at all. And I didn't realize it until after the entire series of events happened. Side note, I just recently got over having COVID, so if I sound a little congested still, it's because I am. I'm feeling fine, I'm feeling good, but you might feel a little something going on. But let's go ahead and dive into the video. So the purpose of me sharing this testimony is to inspire and encourage other individuals about how God speaks and works in your life. I recently taught on being able to hear from God and what that looks like in the Good and Faithful Sisterhood. There was a quote that I included at the very beginning of that teaching, and it says, "As believers, we know the voice of God. It's just whether or not we actually attribute it to God. God speaks to us in so many different ways, including our dreams, including our thoughts, including our imagination, through other people. But as believers, we often hear God, we just don't attribute it to it being God." My very first car was a 2021, girl, where? My first car was a 2007 Jeep Liberty. Her name was Lily, and I literally drove her till the wheels fell off. When I tell y'all, God's hand was on that wheel the whole time I was driving that car, because I almost got in so many accidents that could have ended fatally and didn't. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. But that car got me through my early years of young adulthood, of teenagehood, and I was pulling into my parents' house one day and the wheels literally fell off of the axis of the car, the front wheels. So the axis broke in half. I literally drove it until the wheels fell off, and I was without a car for about a week, and then I purchased my first car by myself. This was probably one of the more sensible purchases that I made without God. I was not into my faith at all. I had just moved out. I came up with the money to put down. I put down about, I think, $4,000 or $3,000, somewhere around there. And I purchased a 2019, it was a 2017. Or was it a 2014? It was like a 2014 to 2017, I can't remember, but it was a Kia Optima, and it was like this pretty sangria color, and I loved that car. That car was my baby. Fast forward, my third car was the most impulsive purchasing decision I have ever made in my life. It was a 2021 Kia K5. I was like, oh, this car is cute, I want it. At the time I was going through a breakup, and we were still living together, so I was like, I want to show him, like, let me show him, I'm gonna get a new car. I'm gonna just pull up with a new car. When I tell you, I got off of work, it was the peak of COVID, I rolled up in my mask, it was like 8:30 at night, and I took myself down to the dealership at 9 p.m. when they were about to close, and I was like, I want to trade my car. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, I want to trade my car in. I want the K5. And for it being an impulse purchase, it was actually, I got a pretty good deal on it. By the grace of God, because that was impulsive. But by the grace of God, I did not set myself up for financial ruin, and I left with a new car. Fast forward from that, I put a lot of miles on that car. When I traded it in very recently, I traded it in at 70,000 miles. From 2021 to now, 3 years, I put 70,000 miles on that car. It was starting to give me a few issues. My AC went out in that car very recently, which is a whole other testimony how God fixed that AC without $0 coming out of pocket, and I was outside of my warranty. Whole other story. I also moved back in with my parents, and they live down a dirt road that is notorious for potholes, and my car was so low that it started to take out the undercarriage of my car. My undercarriage would drag sometimes, my bumper would get scratched up, and so it just wasn't practical. I don't want to sound ungrateful because, again, that was a new car and it was a good car. I do not regret buying that car. It was so reliable and so good. I just want to emphasize that. But I was like, I'm tired of this car. I'm tired of this car. I want a new car. And I wanted an SUV. And there was a lot of emotional attachment to that car as well with previous relationships. So fast forward, I decided I'm just gonna start looking on the market to see what's out there. So I started test driving cars. Don't make fun of me, y'all. I test drove a Buick. I know that's like old people territory, but they just came out with a new Invista, the Buick Invista, that kind of, to me, it looked like a Lamborghini Urus. So I was like, this is cute. I kind of want this. And I went and test drove it, and something just felt off. Like, it was a beautiful car. I loved the interior. The exterior was really nice, but it just felt off as I was test driving it. It felt unnatural. And usually I'm the type of person when I feel very deeply and very strongly. So when I feel about something, it's either yes, I want this, or no, I don't need it. A week after I test drove that car, I got a call from the Kia dealership. They are in need of K5s right now, pre-owned K5s. So they figured, let's just reach out to her. So they called me and they were like, hey, if you're in the market for a new car, I would love to draw some numbers up for you and see about what we can give you for trading your car in. And I was looking at some of the Kia cars, but I honestly would have just traded into another K5 because I didn't like anything else. But I started to take a look at some of their SUVs, and I did really like a few of them. And the guy on the phone was like, hey, we have a Kia Sportage. Have you ever thought about that? They're actually really nice and they're also affordable. So I was like, okay, so I did a little bit of research, and this was September 3rd at night. That night, I had a dream. So in this dream, I was at a dealership test driving cars. At this dealership, I had my mom with me and I had my dad with me. And I was test driving these cars. The car salesman had a baby in his hand, and he was walking around showing me the cars. And every time he would show me a car and I would test drive it or I would look at it, it was like perfect, but something was broken about the car. It looked good, but I was like, I don't know, it feels like I'm settling. I don't want this one. Show me another one. So then he would show me another one, and again, it would be the same process. Something feels off, something is broken, or I just don't like it. Show me another one. This went on about 4 or 5 times in the dream until finally I settled. I found the car and I was like, okay, this is the car. It's what I want. It's close enough to what I want. So I'm going to get it. And at that point, I was so tired at the dealership that I just went ahead and signed papers, didn't talk about the price, didn't talk about interest rates, nothing. And I left. And then I came back and I was talking about someone scamming me in the dream. I was like, you guys scammed me. I don't know what, but you guys scammed me. Like, something happened with the car and I feel scammed. And then I woke up. I have been in a space where I've been preparing myself to hear from God in my dreams. So this is not just a random dream. This is not just, like not every dream is from God. So I just want to say that as well, that I had been preparing myself weeks prior to hear from God in my dreams about the things that I am going through. And I was hearing from God in my dreams on multiple nights prior to this dream. So in the dream, I don't know what year of the car it was, but it was a wolf gray Kia Sportage. The Lord, I got 2 things from the Lord when I woke up from this dream. The first thing is I need to be patient. I need to be patient during this car buying process. And the second thing was I can't settle. I cannot settle. No matter what, I cannot settle. Fast forward, I had that dream and I went to therapy that day. This was September 4th. So I went to therapy and then I left and I went to Target and I was shopping and I get a call from Kia. So I get a call from Kia and it's the same guy who I spoke to yesterday. I don't know him. and he was like, hey, I just wanted to give you a call back. We wrote some numbers up and I would love to connect you with one of our salesmen. So he transfers me, and a man named Victor picks up the phone. Victor is the same man who sold me my 2021 Kia K5 3 years ago. And he was like, hi, how are you? How is everything? I hear you're in the market for a new car. Let's talk numbers. So he asked me what I think my credit is, and I told him. And he said, okay, perfect. What kind of car do you want? And I said, well, I was looking at the Kia Sportage. I was interested in the wolf gray color, but I don't know what interior yet, and I just wanted to test drive it. And he was like, when can you come in? I said, I can come in 30 minutes because I'm at Target and I'm not even supposed to be here. I met with him and we test drove the car, and I test drove it and it felt right. It felt good, but it was the base model. The base model doesn't come with the sunroof. It doesn't come with the red leather interior, and it doesn't come in the wolf gray color. So I told him, I said, well, these are the things that I want. I definitely want a sunroof, definitely want this color, and I would like a red interior. I'm not opposed to a black interior. I'm not like crazy about the whole like leather color, but a red would be nice. And I told him I wanted to lease the car, that I did not want to finance. I had financed all my life. I am too familiar with driving cars until the wheels fall off. That's not something I want to do. I am okay with having a car note. I just don't want to be upside down in a car after a few years and after I've driven it a lot. I'd rather just get into something new. That's personally just me. That's just me. After that, he was like, okay, well, what do you want to pay per month? Pretty much was like, give me your rate, give me your numbers. I'm going to be transparent with you guys. I said I'm willing to pay nothing more than $480 a month with gap coverage, with taxes included, and I'm okay with putting $1,000 down. As soon as those words left my lips, I felt like I was settling. I was like, ooh. And you know, once you say something, like you can't really double back on it, but I did anyways. So I said that, and then immediately he was like, okay, well, that's tight. We might be able to do something with that. Let me go to my manager and see. So he left. 30 minutes later, he comes back. And he's like, so we can get you this. He brought me this car, but it was $515 with $2,000 down. And I was like, no. I said, no, that I'm not going to do that. And in my head, I really wanted to just be like, actually, I take back what I said before. And so I did. I stood on business and I was like, actually, about what I said before, I am only willing to spend $450 a month with gap, and with taxes I want my car note to be no more than $450 a month, and I don't want to put anything down. I said I want to leave here without putting anything down. He looked at me like I was crazy. He was like, there's no way. There is no way I can get you that on this brand new car. I said, but you have to try, please. So he leaves. He comes back. He's like, okay, we can do he was like at 480 something with 500 down. And I said, no. I said, I'm sorry, no, I will not do that. And he goes, okay, well, that's pretty much impossible. I'm just going to see if we can work something else out. So he actually finds on the lot, he finds a 2024, same interior color, same exterior, everything about the car is the same, just the year is different. And they were like, because of that, we can offer a bigger rebate, a bigger discount, and we'll be able to get you to the price that you want. So he leaves, he comes back. Finally, he's like, I gotta take you shopping with me because this is crazy that you're getting a car for this price, brand new, leased at this cost with nothing down. I was like, okay, I feel good about this. I feel happy. There was still this feeling of just anxiousness that I couldn't get over. And I had been anxious the whole time, and I'll tell you a part of the reason why. While I was sitting there when he was negotiating with the manager, as I was sitting there, I had an encounter with someone who I felt was operating out of the enemy. And it was an older man. And when I say older, I mean significantly older. He was probably in his late 70s. And I saw him as I was at this desk negotiating. I had watched him and he was pacing around the dealership. He was waiting for his car to be serviced in the service department. And finally he came up to me And it's funny because I kept noticing his presence out of everyone else that was there. The dealership was really busy, but I kept noticing his presence. So finally he comes up to me and he's like, "Hi, you buying a new car today?" And I was like, "Well, hopefully, we'll see." And he was like, "Okay." He asked me some pretty detailed questions that I was almost hesitant to answer. But he was asking me like what car I already had, and I told him why I was getting rid of it, and I was very brief, but I told him, you know, just time for something new. We'll see. And so he was like, "Are you planning on financing or buying it outright?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna lease." And his face just turned upside down. He was like, "Lease? Lease?" As if I committed a crime. Why would you lease a car?
That is like pouring money into nothing. You're not investing in anything. You're wasting money. It's like buying an apartment or renting a house, like when you could just purchase a house
and I said, "Well, I've done that before. And this is something that I just feel like fits better for me." He was so disapproving of the fact that I was leasing a car. And then he started talking to me more about, he asked me what I do. And I was like, "Well, I'm in full-time content creation and ministry." And he was like, "Ministry?" He goes, "Really? I used to be," he said some denomination, I forgot, something Catholic. He was like, "Yeah, I used to be a minister over at this church over here, but I don't do that stuff anymore." So immediately my interest is piqued. I'm like, "Really? Like, why?" And he was like, "I'm actually writing a book. It's a comedy book." And he told me the title, and the title ended in a curse word. And so I guess the title of this book was supposed to be a joke in itself, and I just didn't laugh. And so he was like, "You don't get it, do you?" And I was like, "No, I don't get it." And so he told me the title of the book again, and he kind of explained to me in a very disrespectful, demeaning way what the joke meant. And so he said it again, and I didn't laugh again, and he was like, "You still don't get it, do you?" I said, "Maybe I do get it, I just don't find it funny." Baby, we said we not soft around here, okay? So I kind of had to clap back, and I said, in my head, I was like, "Lord, keep me peaceful. Keep me peaceful. Keep me respectful, because this is an elder." So then I asked him, "What is your audience? What is your demographic that you're trying to hit with this content, with this book?" And he said, "Anyone from baby boomers to millennials." And I said, that's probably why I didn't find the joke funny, because I'm Gen Z. And he was like, "So you probably wouldn't buy my book then, huh?" And I was like, "Probably not." And I said it in a very respectful way, like I was being respectful. Immediately in my head, after this first like part of the encounter, I was like, this is the enemy. I was like, this he's trying to discourage me from buying this car. He's trying to put doubt, place fear, and condemn me in the process. I don't think so. I already peeped, and I was just ready for the conversation to end because I no longer wanted to entertain it. But he goes, "You want to know what I think about Gen Z? Y'all don't want to work for anything. You want everything handed to you on a silver platter. You're lazy. You're disrespectful. You don't want to work. You don't want to do anything for yourself." And so I took a moment and I didn't respond, because old me would have responded with a quickness. So I paused, and the first thing that popped into my head, which has been like a common theme in my thought process lately, is "Forgive them, Lord, for they do not know." And forgive me. Forgive me, for I do not know. And I said, "Do you have grandkids?" He said, "My son's girlfriend has a child, so yeah." I said, "I really hope that as you spend more time with them, they continue to change your mindset about our generation, because we're actually pretty awesome." And I said it in that tone, in that demeanor, and he was like, yeah. And immediately right after that encounter, the salesman came back out to present me with this new negotiation offer. So he came out, perfect timing, as soon as I said that, and he goes, "Yeah, well, good luck." And I said, "Thank you, and God bless." And he was like, yeah, and walked away. So he walks away. That was not the last of him, y'all. Anyways, that's when my salesman comes back and he's like, "Okay, we got you this price with this car, but we need to act fast because this is the last car of the 2024s, and because it is a sought after model, someone next to us is trying to buy this car as well. So we need to act fast so we can put your application in first." I said, "No, I don't know. I still feel uncertain. I still felt so unsure. And I felt like I needed to pray on it. I just felt rushed. My salesman was like, well, let's go ahead and price your insurance out. I'll get you set up with Progressive. So he asks me what I do. And I said, ministry and content creation. He goes, you're in ministry? So he goes, wow, I love that. And we started talking a little bit about God. He was like, well, you're still feeling uneasy. He was like, if I give you the keys to the car, do you want to go and sit in the car and pray on it? And I was like, yes. So I go, I'm sitting in the car, I'm praying, I'm talking to God, and I'm just like, Lord, I feel so uneasy about this. I feel so rushed, and I just don't feel like it's right. You told me not to settle. I didn't settle. So I don't feel like I'm settling, and I feel like I've been patient. Y'all, I was there for 4 hours at the dealership, being patient. And every time he went and took back, like to go talk to the manager, it was like 30 minutes at a time. Why do I still feel so rushed? I felt this need to go home and sleep and pray on it. And so I went back inside and I handed him the keys and I said, I still don't feel at peace about it. I got the price I want and everything. That's great. But I need you to date this price for tomorrow. And I need to go home and sleep on it. Then I'll come back tomorrow. And if the car is still here tomorrow, I will buy the car. I don't want to feel like I'm fighting nail and tooth with anybody for no car. If it's not meant for me, it won't be for me. But if it's meant for me, it'll still be here tomorrow. So he was like, I have never seen this before in my life, because you're getting a great price on this car and you want to go home and leave and think about it to come back. So I left. On my drive home, I reached out to a sister in Christ of mine. She actually has a YouTube channel here on YouTube. It's Joe's Planet, I believe. This is your sign, y'all. I just want to pause really quick and say, don't be afraid to reach out to people, because that's what community is for. Like, God wants us to reach out to each other and to lean on each other. We're the type of sisters in Christ where, like, we'll be on Instagram talking to each other, like commenting on each other's posts, stories, kikiing every now and then. Of course, we've leaned on each other for advice every now and then, but we've never met in person. But she was the first person who immediately, like, God planted in my head to be like, reach out to her. We exchanged information and I call her. And when we spoke, I asked her about her feelings during the car buying process and kind of shared with her like how I was feeling, because this was my first time making this purchasing decision with God, any big purchasing decision with God at the center and not knowing how to feel. When you're making that big of a decision, like, you want there to be peace, you want there to be a sense of security, and I was not feeling that 100%. I still felt really anxious. It just felt like I was gonna make the wrong decision. And she actually shared with me that it was a very common feeling for her as well. So not only did that bring me comfort, but it also gave me confirmation that, like, even when we're making decisions with God, there can be a sense of peace and not confusion. But sometimes that change, especially if it's a big change, it can feel uneasy. And it can feel a little bit nerve-wracking. It can feel uncomfortable. I feel like everybody has this idea of, when you are making a decision with God, it's just complete, that's not always the case, and that is unrealistic. So hearing that was also a common feeling for her definitely brought me comfort in feeling that, okay, I'm not alone in this feeling. Even though I feel like God has confirmed this purchase decision for me, it just still feels scary. So I get home and I'm continuing to pray on it. As I got home, I felt more at peace of, like, knowing tomorrow I was going to have a new car. I was like, it just feels right. Like, tomorrow I'm going to have a new car. So of course, me being a girl, I went on TikTok Shop, I went on Amazon, I went on YouTube, and I was looking up like Kia Sportage, decorate my car with me, cute little accessories, this, that, and the third. And I came across this girl's video and she was talking about her purchase with her Kia Sportage and how when she bought the car, it started to give her problems immediately, and that she ended up having to go back to the dealership multiple times until they finally were like, okay, we'll put you in a new car. I watched the video not to really hear that, but just to see the car itself. It just happened to be that was a part of her video, that was a part of her story, and I was like, okay, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. Now this is my second time at Kia at the dealership. I walk in, I'm feeling confident. The night before, I cleaned my car out. Good morning, you guys. Today, I may or may not be getting a new car, but I am gonna clean my car out. know what I just realized, y'all? I took off the original Kia emblems and no one noticed when they did my appraisal at the dealership. So I'm gonna see if I have them. They should be in this bag with all my car stuff. I have them, y'all. Yeah, I don't know what to do, y'all. I don't know what to do because you can't really tell. Like, so this is the emblem that I put on the car. This is the original. New emblems are back on. Well, I guess old emblems. And the back. So these are the original mats for the car. Brand spanking new. Coming to you live with an update. So I did go ahead and get him a thank you card. I went and picked up a Starbucks gift card for him. Just as a little token of appreciation, honestly. And because I don't like going over somewhere like where I know I'm gonna be investing with somebody and coming like empty-handed. And the last time, 3 years ago, when he sold me my car, when I left, he was like, next time you're on E, come by and I'll take your car to get it filled up with gas. And so that was really nice of him. He's always been really sweet. We are about to walk in. I'm really excited. I'm like about to pull in right now. I'm getting a new car today. It's my first bigger purchase with the Lord. So it is a little nerve-wracking, but I'm really excited. Oh my goodness, y'all. My mileage is just under 70K. I walk in already knowing this is the price I'm paying. I'm not putting anything down. My insurance looks good. Signed the paperwork. Everything went smoothly. Wanted to update you because I came to the bathroom to update you because I'm not filming in there. But I'm getting a car today. It's the one I want and I'm excited. I was in a little bit of a rush because I had an appointment across town and so I needed to leave at a certain time. So I was there for about 2 hours just to get all the paperwork done, tags and title transferred, and lease agreement. And I was in my new car. And I love you more than anything. You know we gotta get some worship and praise first thing. Worship and praise first thing. Your name stands above them all. Holy. Went to my appointment, came back to my side of town, and I was like, I want to take my family out for dinner and I'll drive. Everyone piles into my car and we're driving, and I notice there's something wrong with the seatbelt in the passenger seat. My mom is sitting there strapped in, but it's still dinging. Like no one is strapped in. Like she's there, but she's not strapped in. And y'all know that's annoying. Ding, 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 ding. Almost the whole car ride. Eventually it silenced, but I was annoyed. I was like, this is a brand new car. Like, what? That night, because I didn't want to wait a minute later, that night, it was the same day I got the car, I texted Victor and I was like, hey, there's a sensor problem with the passenger seat belt. Just wanted to let you know, and when can I come in to have it looked at? There was also something wrong with the modem of the car because the car has Wi-Fi and it's supposed to connect to your phone. That way you can start your car, unlock it, lock it, set the climate controls, all that from your phone. That also was not connecting and it had like a no signal sign at the top of the screen. I had reset it. I did a soft reset on the system a few times myself and it still did not work. So I messaged him and he was like, okay, bring it in on Monday, the weekend. This was a Thursday, I believe. And he was like, the weekend is not a good time to bring it in. On Monday, I go in and I'm like, okay, this is the problem with the car. This is what's going on. And they tell me they cannot fix the car today. They cannot look at it that day because they were already behind in service appointments and that I would need to actually make an appointment. I was a little perturbed because I was like, okay, I was expecting to come in and have the problem fixed, but I wasn't able to get it looked at, and this dealership is about 45 minutes from me. So now I'm putting mileage on the car and I'm having to go out of my way to have this problem fixed on a car that was supposed to be new and free of problems. This was the moment I realized that the patience that God was teaching me in the dream did not stop at the purchase decision of the car. That I was going to need patience throughout this entire process. This was my third visit at Kia. It was September 9th. On top of them not being able to look at the seatbelt that day, the modem of the car was an external problem that the service department can't fix. That has to go through Kia Connect. There was about 4 people working on my car trying to figure out why the modem wouldn't connect, resetting it, rebooting it, doing all the things, trying all the tricks, and it was still not fixable. So I approached the manager. This was after I went ahead and made my appointment for the next day that I was going to have the seatbelt sensor looked at. They said it was going to be an easy fix. So I made my appointment for Friday. And I also expressed to the manager that I felt uneasy having to come back up here for a car that was supposed to be new, because with a lease, if you guys aren't familiar with a lease, you have a limited amount of miles you can use per year. So because you have a limited amount of mileage, I was a little upset at the fact that I was putting all of these unnecessary miles on my car for having to come back to the dealership so many times. But again, I was patient, and he actually, after I expressed that to him, he was like, don't worry about it, I'll comp you the miles. I actually also asked him during this time, what is the process to just be put into another vehicle? I didn't want them to have to go into the car and start messing with things, and then it creates other problems. So he actually told me there's no possible way that I'm going to put you in another car, because this was the last 2024. The rest of them are 2025s, which means it would be more expensive and I would have to pay more monthly. My payments would be more. There's no way I'd be getting that same amount in a 2025. So I was like, okay, well, hopefully the problem will just be fixed. And he actually did guarantee, no, we're guaranteeing you that the car is going to be fixed on Friday. So I leave, I go about the rest of my week, and here comes Friday. This is now my 4th visit at the dealership, and this was September 13th. So I come in, I bring all my work stuff with me because I knew I was going to be there at least for a little bit. So this is about 4 hours in to them looking at my car, and I finally get a call.
Yeah, it looks like this is an extensive damage issue. This is not just the seatbelt sensor. There is something wrong with the wiring, and so we need a few days to diagnose it.
A few days. And so we need to put you in a rental during the time being. I said absolutely not. The last time I got a rental from them, even though it was free of cost back when my AC was being fixed, it was not cute. It smelled like smoke, and it was just dirty, and no. So is that bougie? Is that bougie? We're moving into hour 5 at the dealership. This was where I did start to get a little frustrated. Yeah, I started pacing, and I just kept repeating 3 things in my head. I kept repeating patience, love, kindness. Patience, love, kindness. Patience, love, kindness. This was when I was able to speak to the general manager, and I was like, listen, I am frustrated. I said, I am frustrated because these were problems that should have been checked before the car was even put on the lot to be sold as a new car. I said, this is the situation I'm in. I am coming from a place of love. I'm coming from a place of kindness, but I am also coming from an equally frustrated place, and I would love for you to just put yourself in my position for 2 seconds and understand my frustration. And he was like, I get it. And he's like, Brianna. And I said, yes. Would you budge with me with the price at all if I put you in a 2025? And I said, no. I said, no, I'm sorry, but no, I shouldn't have to. And he said, I know you shouldn't have to. That like put him on armed. That was like fighting words for him when I said I shouldn't have to. I said, I understand. I understand, but I negotiated fair and square for this car. This is a purchasing decision that I made on this price, on these terms. I was able to disarm the conversation, and he was like, okay, give me a few minutes. And he left. And then at this point, I felt like I needed moral support. This was going on hour 6 of being at the dealership, and I was depleted. I hadn't eaten at all. Actually, I picked up some Chick-fil-A breakfast that morning, thinking I was just gonna need to eat breakfast and I was gonna go grab lunch. Nope, I had not eaten. I was tired. I was frustrated. My stepdad was at work, and so I called my biological dad. Now, this is a whole other story, but the story with my biological dad is he's not a man of God. I love him, but I did call him and I was expressing my frustration and he was like, do you want me to come? And I said yes and no. And eventually I finally was like, okay, I just want him here for support. And I did ask him, when you get here, just be here for me for support. I'm working on talking to the people. Let me do most of the talking, but I just need you here for support. So he comes, and this is where the story kind of shifts, because as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this was never about the car. My dad comes. I mentioned before that he's not a man of God. He actually very recently expressed to me that he wanted nothing to do with Jesus, that he wanted nothing to do with a church, that he did not want to step foot in another church. And that tore me up, y'all. That's something that is a whole other story. But so my dad comes, and because he was about 40 minutes away, he was about 10 minutes away when finally the manager came back and he was like, all right, we're putting you in a 2025. You don't have to put anything down. You don't have to make greater payments. We're going to keep you at your payments, and we're putting you in a new car. Hey y'all, so I'm recording on my phone because I don't want to let this moment go. I'm here at the dealership now, finalizing things for the second time, and I'm like emotional. I'm trying to keep my poker face because there's people around, but just know I'm very emotional right now. I was very close to tears earlier. Happy tears, because God prepared me for this moment, y'all. God prepared me for this trial. God prepared me, because if I wasn't prepared, I don't know what would have transpired. Like, I don't know what would have happened. I don't know what my attitude would have been like or what the outcome would have been. But all I know is God is good. God is good all the time. And I can't wait to share it with y'all. Look at God. I want to kind of look at this series of events from the dream, and from me not settling in the dream, getting the car, and then going back talking about how the dealership scammed me in the dream. And here is exactly what played out at the dealership with the same car that was in my dream. So the way that God prepared me in the dream set me up to be in the position that I was in at this moment at hour 6 at the dealership with my 4th time at this dealership. Because if it hadn't been for that patience and for the preparation of my emotions in that dream, I would have either settled on the base model way back then. I would have settled with the price, or I would have settled with them just fixing my car and putting me in a rental. But because of that, I was patient, I was loving, I was kind, and God rewarded me with the car that I originally wanted, the 2025. Fast forward, I call my dad and I'm like, hey, they finally told me they're gonna put me in a new car. Do you still want to come? And he was like, yeah, I'm 10 minutes away. I'll just come anyways. He gets there, and I have never seen him this calm before. Maybe it's because he's getting up there in age, but he approached the situation very calmly. He was very understanding with the managers and was like even making jokes and stuff like that. Just being present. And being a support system for me, which I really needed. So fast forward, I'm signing the documents to this new car. It took me another hour after they already told me they were going to put me in a new car, because I had to redo the whole process of tag and title transfer, signing paperwork, and getting the correct VIN number on my insurance. And so I'm getting ready to sign, and I get paired with a different finance manager this time, not the one who I originally spoke to when I bought the other car. And we end up getting on the topic of what I do, and I mentioned ministry, and he goes, really? He was like, Jesus Christ saved my life. He restored my life. And I was like, really? And my dad was sitting there, being able to witness a grown man come down and say, I am a child of God, before anything. And my dad was kind of just in awe. I looked over, and this look on his face was just this look of peace and comfort and The man who was the finance manager, he started sharing a little bit of his testimony, how he was Muslim, how he converted to Christianity, and how Jesus Christ is his Lord and Savior, has been his Lord and Savior for a while now, and how he has a beautiful family and all this other stuff. And I kind of briefly shared a little bit of my testimony too. For my dad to be a fly on the wall of that topic and of that conversation and being able to see how Jesus changes people, it was so needed. And the finance manager, his name was Zach. I'm just going to say Zach. He ended up looking at my dad and he was like, you must be really proud. You must be really proud of your daughter. Not many children her age, not many young adults her age are on this walk with Christ. So you must be proud. And he looked at me and I looked at him and he was just like, yeah, she's pretty awesome. And in that moment, I realized this was never about the car. This was never about Kia. It was never about the process. It was about me being able to meet this man, Zach, who did the paperwork for this new car for me, who made sure that everything was ethical and trustworthy. And on top of that, for my dad to witness this interaction after just telling me he wanted nothing to do with Jesus, it was never about me. It was never about the car. It was more so like knowing that he won't be in heaven, and with him getting older, it's like I don't want to be uncertain of where he's going, and I definitely don't want to be certain that he's going to hell. And so I had been praying for God to deliver him and just to use me and use my brother to show him the love of Christ. And I bawled my eyes out. I left the car and I was patient and I was persistent and I did not settle. I did not give up. But then to see the bigger picture and how this was never for me, it brought me to this place of just full reverence at how God works. And the whole time, back to the dealership, because I could talk about that, but Victor, the salesman, he was rooting for me the whole time. He was fighting nail and tooth for me. And I really appreciate him more than he knows. He made the whole process as seamless as it could be, despite all of the hiccups. And he hugged me before I got into the car and he was like, look at God. Look at God. And to be in an environment where I could be equally yoked with the salesman and with the finance manager made the experience totally different. And after spending 7 hours at the dealership, I left with the biggest smile on my face, feeling like I was there for 30 minutes because it was bigger than me. And so to know that it was bigger than me and to see it work out, to see it play out, made me the happiest woman on earth. Made me the happiest disciple on earth. All in all, I pray that you got something from this video, from this testimony, because it was never about the car. Because although yes, it was about my dad, the finance manager also got to see a young woman of faith. The general manager got to experience the love of Jesus. Victor got to experience the blessing and the provision of Jesus and of God. And I also got to experience that man, the old man who came back after and felt convicted after the way our conversation went. There was so much God in that situation that you cannot tell me that his hand was not on every single person in that dealership. That his hand was not on the dealership itself. So say yes, be aware, be present, be holy, and allow God to lead your steps, to guide your steps, to give you patience, to give you a peace in every situation, because you never know who's watching, you never know who it's going to affect, you never know whose life can be changed off of a single encounter from the Lord through you. So that is my testimony on how I purchased my car and how it was never about the car. Thank you, Kia. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Zach. And thank you, God. I don't know the general manager's name, but I thank him as well. I'm praying for all of you. I'm so happy that I was able to share it with you. I will say the enemy definitely tried to pluck this entire experience from my mind, tried to remove those moments from my mind. And so that's a part of the reason why I wanted to record this testimony, is so that I don't forget the goodness of God. I just want to thank you if you made it to the end of the video. This was a long testimony, but I hope that it was so well worth it in the end for you to listen to. I love you guys so much. Please stay tuned for more videos like this one. If you're new here and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.